everyone, this is the Day Gown by Old Fashioned Baby pattern. It's a very easy pattern to put together and lends itself to a range of sizing too, since it only fits the baby around the neckline and shoulders. So when your little one grows a little bit in their tummy or lengthwise, it doesn't affect the fit that much. Okay, so to begin, you'll cut out 2 sleeves, one back of the dress, which is done on the fold, and one front of the dress. In the video, I'm showing how to do view 3. But the pattern is so simple that it lends itself to a range of embellishments, and I'll show 2 other variations at the end of this video. Since I'm doing view 3, I copied the embroidery and lace work with a water-soluble pen. First, I completed the embroidery work, and then it was time for lace shaping. You'll want to use lace that is straight on both sides, and this is called insertion lace. Since it's straight on both sides, it's easy to sew and attach the fabric. So you'll start pinning on the outside curve. Use lots of pins and give the lace a very, very slight tug as you're shaping. Once you've done the outside curve, you're ready to shape the inside curve. And this is done by pulling the lace header. This is a piece of thread that has been woven into the lace. It's very similar to gathering fabric. You'll take this piece of thread and carefully pull on it. And it's kind of like magic, the lace will just sort of lay down flat. I remember the first time I did this and I thought it was the coolest thing since sliced bread. Carefully transfer your pins to laying flat. I did this lace shaping on my ironing board, but you could also do it on a lace shaping board. I have one that I love and I'll link it below. I didn't use mine honestly because I was being lazy and it was in the other room. But I do like to use it for lace shaping. So once you have your pins laying flat and your work is loose, you can take the dress front to your machine. You'll want to use a small zigzag that is just wide enough to go from one side of the lace header to the other. Every machine is different, but my settings were a 2.2 width and a 0.8 length. Start sewing on the outside curve, taking your time, putting your needle down and turning as needed. Then repeat the same thing to the inside curve. Now you can spray some water to make that blue marker line disappear. Okay, so that's the back of the dress. Let's make the placket. This is a new way to make a placket for me, and I've fallen in love with it. It is so much better than the continuous placket method I've shown in other videos. Okay, so to begin, you'll cut a perpendicular line to the dress down the middle of the dress about 6 inches long, and the right side of your dress should be facing up. Then cut 5/8 of an inch to the left side and about 1/8 of an inch to the right side. As I'm trying to show, the placket is going to fold on top of itself, right side over on top, left side. So you'll want to sew 1/8 of an inch side over as I'm showing, or you could use a zigzag on that raw edge instead of turning it over and sewing a straight stitch. I did that to the other variations that I'll be showing later. Since the right side is going on top of the left side, you can turn that about 1/8 of an inch over on the right side, and then the rest will just be covered up with that raw edge. So you don't need to do any stitching here. I hope that's making sense. I'm trying to show all angles of this placket in the videos so that I can do a better job since my words are pretty much failing me. I'm not really the best with words at all, but it is a really simple placket. So then I stitch across to secure the placket in place, but on my second and third time making this garment, I just zigzagged the bottom together, and that held it in place without any visible stitching on the right side of the garment, and I like it a lot better. You see what I mean? Once the placket is done, then attach the front and back of the garment together with French seams. I have a video on how to do these linked below. And press those seams towards the back. I did a handful of basting stitches at the top of the placket and then trimmed at the neckline so everything was in line in preparation for the entredeux at the neckline. You'll have to make little clippings in the entredeux so it goes around the curve of the neckline. You can pin it in place if that helps you. So stitch in the dent on the entredeux. That's the little section where the holes stop and the fabric starts. Then you can trim that up to about 1/8 of an inch so you can zigzag the raw edges. Once you press the seams towards the garment, then you can trim up the other side of the entredeux to 1/8 of an inch and zigzag the lace to it. Now onto the sleeves. To start, place 2 rows of gathered stitches to the bottom edge. Pull the gathers until they measure 7.5 inches long, and I cut 2 pieces of entredeux to that length. Pin the entredeux to the bottom of the sleeve, adjusting the gathers as you go. You're going to repeat the same process to attach the entredeux to the sleeve. However, you'll have to stitch 2 straight stitches right next to each other, about 1/16 of an inch apart, due to the gathered fabric. This will hold your gathered fabric in place when you go to zigzag. Press the seams towards the sleeve and then trim the other side of the entredeux in preparation for the lace. As you did before, zigzag the lace onto the entredeux. Something to note is that I don't think it matters if your zigzag goes from the raw edge to the inside edge of the holes of the entredeux, or if it goes from the raw edge to the outside of those holes. I did it both ways, and I'm showing them here, and they look pretty similar to me. Put 2 rows of gathered stitches on the top of the sleeve between the dots shown on the pattern. Adjust those gathers so they fit the armhole. I like to pin each side first and then find the middle of the sleeve and pin that to the shoulder seam, and then adjust the 2 spots on either side until it fits the gathers. Then stitch the seam in place. Trim that seam to about 1/4 of an inch and zigzag those raw edges. Press that seam towards the sleeve. Now you can join one side seam using a French seam. You only want to join one side if you're putting lace at the bottom of the garment. That way the raw edges of the lace can be enclosed with a French seam on the other side. To prepare for the lace or entredeux on the bottom, first cut any stray threads away. Then stitch the entredeux as shown before in the video and trim the seam to 1/8 of an inch. Zigzag that seam and press it towards the dress. Trim the other side and zigzag that lace to it. Press that seam towards the lace. So to finish the garment construction, join the other side using a French seam. Now you'll just have to hand stitch the ends of the lace at the neckline in place, as well as add a snap or a button to the top of the placket. Here's Audrey in this dress, and I think this is her debut on this channel. We've mentioned her on our main channel, and I'll link that video below. But she is our daughter, born in June, and she's in this video about 2 months old and weighing, I think she's weighing about 11 pounds now. Her appointment is later than this week. Anyway, the pattern says that the size small is good from birth to about 16 pounds, and I can see how that can be true since it only fits the baby around their shoulders and neck, which doesn't change too much. I also made a Christmas version using velvet and English netting, and I'll link those supplies below. I decided to go without sleeves and instead put bias strips to finish those edges. Then I made a silk duponione, I can never figure out how to pronounce that word, but anyway, I made a silk version with lots of entredeux. I guess this could also be a Christmas dress or maybe a fancy Thanksgiving dress for photos. Anywho, it's another take on the pattern. And I completely forgot that I made this dress 2 other times, both with the same sort of style of the lace on the bottom, and then finished the sleeves and the neckline with binding strips. And then on the back side I did a button, mother of pearl button, before I realized how difficult buttons were with newborns. That's why I've been doing snaps lately with buttons on top. But at any rate, so this dress, or these 2 dresses rather, Audrey wore as a newborn. Here she is at her 2nd appointment at the doctor's office, so she was still quite fresh here, and the dress fit her, I mean, just fine. It's a smidgen loose, but you know, I would say it fits her just fine for a newborn. So really this dress can go from newborn all the way up until 16 pounds, which is pretty impressive, I would say. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. As always, I thank y'all for watching, and I hope to catch y'all next time.